Let's make sure that we are going live. I got to check my phone to make sure that I am showing up on Facebook. Hopefully I am. And I will get us started, get us rocking and rolling and moving along. Let's see here. Someone's saying they're not seeing the link today. Well, it should be right there. I should be live. So let's see. And there we all are. So fantastic. See that? It's working well. Awesome. Let me share my screen and we can start moving on pretty good. Don't think we need Facebook open. Good deal. Hey, welcome everybody. Rob Kosberg here. Day 4. I love all the days, but I especially love day 4, 5, 6, and 7, and sometimes 8, 9, and 10. But I do love these days because we're talking about the things that, in many cases, really set a good book apart and make it a great book, a special book, a book that is read and used and that impacts maybe tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, who knows, millions of lives. And that's what we're going to hit today. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen and do the whole PowerPoint thing. Let me swap views. Make sure we're good to go there. Awesome. So day 4 today is the BSP strategy that launched 1,000 plus bestsellers or best-selling books. Yes, Bestseller Publishing has now been in business not quite 10 years, even though I've been working with people with their books for over 10 years, but I formally created and launched Bestseller Publishing in 2011. And so I think June of next year will be 10 years. And we bring on somewhere in the range of 200 to 250 new authors a year that we work with. These are authors that could be anywhere along the continuum, which means it could be somebody with just an idea or a concept, and they want us to help them with everything. It could be someone that has already written their book and it's in great shape, and what they want is for us to publish it, launch it to bestseller, and help them to get on TV, radio, media, etc. But again, roughly 250 a year over the last several years, and now over 1,000. So the things I'm going to be sharing with you today, these are not theory. This is not because I was lucky with one of my own books. This is because we've created a system that works, and I'm going to share all the details and all the ins and outs of what we do on every single book, because we do almost the exact same thing on every single book that we launch for our clients. Okay. So let's go through a little bit of housekeeping stuff. As always, give away our prize for today, our award. I sure hope you're on live. If you are the winner, because if you're not, then we're going to give you 30 minutes or so to claim the prize below. But tomorrow I have a special prize for you. By the way, I am doing training tomorrow. It's going to be the same time. That's Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern, exact same time. I am going to be training on Sunday as well. And I'm going to be training on Sunday at a different time. It's going to be noon Eastern or 9 a.m. Pacific. So those of you, on the West Coast, it's going to be a little bit earlier. Those of you on the East Coast or overseas in Europe, etc., it'll be not as late, perhaps. So again, I'll send out email reminders and all of that. Tomorrow, I have a special award that I'm going to be doing for you. Tomorrow, I'm going to be giving out to one of you as an award for doing your homework, for being engaged, for doing the extra credit, etc., for making progress. I am going to be giving you 4 one-on-one sessions with one of my award-winning ghostwriters. One of the things that we do at Bestseller Publishing, well, we do a couple of things for those that need our help with writing their book. We have our full hybrid ghostwriting program, and we also have what we call the bestseller writing program, which is where our ghostwriters interact with our clients and help them with what they've written. That is a person that maybe is already doing some writing or likes to do the writing piece of it, and isn't saying, you know what, just take it all off my plate and you do everything, but is saying, you know, I want to work together in a collaborative effort. And so I'm going to give you 4 sessions. Okay. This is a $2,000 value. I'm going to give you 4 sessions with one of my award-winning ghostwriters. That is going to be tomorrow's prize. Okay. Today's prize is my full Publish, Promote, Profit course and program. That is our full series on, there are 5 modules on that, everything having to do with publishing, promoting, profiting, as well as PR and media training, speaker engagement training, lifetime access to our software, Kickstarter training. You get it all. You get the idea. That is today's prize. And without further ado, our prize winner today is Rob Ashford, or British Rob. British Rob. So British Rob, I sure hope that you are on right now. And if you are, then please do me a favor and let, I think Austin is live in the group right now. Austin is one of our author market or author development coaches. Please let Austin know that you are in the group and that you are claiming and accepting your prize. Congratulations, Rob. You didn't do your extra credit. I noticed you didn't do the video. But you only had, you only needed 1 to win, and you did do the homework. So congratulations on that. Okay. Let's just go through what the grand prize is going to be. As I said before, this will be given out at this point. It's going to be Monday. I may do an extra credit session with you guys on Tuesday, but right now, let's just say Monday for sure. And that is our grand prize is our guaranteed done for you bestseller launch. So the things that I'm going to be teaching you today and tomorrow, there's part 1 and part 2 of the bestseller launch. The things that I'm going to be teaching you today are the things that we are actually going to do for one of you. So one of you will give to me your fully completed, edited, and proofread, ready to go book. We will then handle the publishing, the design, of your book. We will handle the full launch of your book, which means we're going to advertise your book on more than 60 worldwide websites. We're going to write the ads, place the ads, pay for the ads. We're going to write 3 U.S. national press releases that are going to go out to 1,000 media outlets. We're going to write them, pay for them, take care of everything. We're going to do a big social media campaign for you, and you are guaranteed to hit bestseller. And that is the prize that one of you will be receiving. Okay. And that, as I said before, is going to be at the moment on Monday. It could happen on Tuesday, depending on if I do an extra credit session. Okay. So that's a little bit of our kind of housekeeping and catch up. I hope Rob has claimed the prize. If not, Rob, you got a few more minutes. Usually I give about 30 minutes to claim your prize. So hopefully that has been done. By the way, those of you that are on, go ahead and comment. Let me know that you're getting this, that you're excited about the prizes, that you're interested. I just need to know that we're all on the same page here. So I want to do homework review now. I've chosen 5 of you to do homework review on. And so the 5 VIPs, Sylvia, Lubov, Jim, Marcus, and TK are going to be our, and I'm glad you have your initials on there, TK, because I don't want to butcher it. I see your video, so thank you for bearing with me. So Sylvia, we're going to start with you, and I chose all of you for different reasons, and obviously this is a time that I hope and expect will be valuable for all of you, right? Because the homework that I assign obviously goes hand in hand with everything that I taught that day. And then the idea is, let's make sure that people are really getting it. Some of you get it a lot more than others of you, and some of you get it, but maybe there are some little tweaks and little things that I can actually help you with. And so that's kind of the idea. So Sylvia says, sorry for the delay. Hope you understand I'm struggling with Spanish and English language. Fantastic. No problem. Obviously, you're a native Spanish speaker. So beautiful, Sylvia. Thank you for being a part of things here with the challenge. And you want me to talk a little bit more about next steps, which I can do that. And then you say, Let's see. I was all day yesterday thinking about how to start my book since I had practically nothing written. Today, I have exact clarity of what I'm going to share. I believe that I am not going to leave the computer until I finish it. It has become an addiction. Thank you. Let me mention that I cried a lot while writing the first chapter, and I still haven't finished it. See you again. Thank you. Nobody has inspired me to write my book like you. Thank you. Those are super incredibly kind words, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm also happy and excited that you're making great progress. As I go through this, some of the things that you're writing are personal things. When I wrote my first book, and even in writing my most recent one, Publish, Promote, Profit, I tell stories that, are personal to me, because, the whole book writing process, if you do it well, you're telling stories that are maybe painful to remember. They're challenging, right? They're things that have left a mark on your character, on your soul. And as you really express those things, there is some pain involved. And I think that is a little bit about what you were expressing, Sylvia. I know that that's true for me. And most people that really write from their heart, I think that's true for. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I can't read everything that everybody has written, but I'm going to read some of it, and then I'm going to give some various feedback. So first chapter, a little bit about the backstory. Remember, what I wanted you to do is I wanted you to map out your story, your open loop, your content points, your conclusion, your next steps, which you did exactly that. Although, Sylvia, you had a question about next steps. So Sylvia starts, for many years, several people have suggested that I should write a book because they love reading about me. The truth is that on most occasions, I took it as a joke, and we even played the different names for it. In other cases, they left me wondering why not. For a long time, there was laziness. I will not deny it. And then she goes on and talks about writing a book on nutrition. Many days I sat in front of the computer thinking about what I could write. Today, after several courses taken that made me deepen my knowledge of my own person, both externally and internally, I'm finally ready to share a lifetime of experience in the field of nutrition. Okay, so a little bit of constructive critique. First of all, nothing wrong with what you have just said, but it's not a story. It's an introduction to a story. It's you sharing a little bit about your personal motivation to write a book. And that's something very, very good for you to write in your introduction, not your first chapter, but like an introductory chapter. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not a story. Now, you do get into the story in just a minute. I want to keep reading, and I want to come back to it. So you then said open loop. Surely you're wondering why the title I chose for my book. Go through each of the chapters, and at the end, you'll understand. It's very simple. I invite you to start this journey with me. You may also be wondering, what does it matter to me? What I want to know is this or that. Indeed, everything you expect from this book, you will have. You go on. To begin with, the first loss I suffered was the rejection, by my mother at birth, simply because I was not a man. And I wasn't born with a white complexion and blue eyes. She was of German and French descent. She had a white complexion that she could not bear to be in the sun for long without suffering the consequences. Likewise, she had green eyes, and her father, very beautiful blue eyes. Years later, I lost the only baby that life had given me a chance to have. Now, this is very heavy stuff that you are sharing. And I can, of course, understand why you wept a lot while you were sharing this. So let me first congratulate you on writing things that are painful and difficult for you. You've sent this to me, so I am assuming permission to give you some feedback on it and to give you some critical thinking on it. I like the amount of kind of bearing your soul that you're giving. Let me give you just a couple of different thoughts. First of all, this is the story, right? Or at least this is part of the story. Imagine for a moment that instead of you just explaining that the first loss you suffered was the rejection of your mother, imagine instead that you told a story revolving around when you first realized that you were rejected by your mother. When you were born, you did not know you were rejected by your mother, right? Because you didn't know anything as an infant. You realize that at some point in your journey, right? There is a story that is reflected of that point. It might be when you were a little girl at 6 years old, and you realize that your father was giving you attention and your mother was not giving you attention. Um, you're telling us bluntly, um, and it's shocking, and it stabs in the heart of anybody that cares, that has a heart and compassion, but it's so much more powerful if you let the reader come to the conclusion on their own based on you telling them a story. Please let me know, VIPs, that you are getting this and you understand where I'm going with this. I want to make sure that I am expressing it correctly so that you get this, because this is really important. You don't want to just be like a blunt instrument. That's not a story. The story is you expressing the very first time that maybe you realized something, that you grasp this for the very first time. Obviously, what you're sharing in this story, Sylvia, impacted your life significantly. And then what you have to do is you have to directly relate it to the subject matter at hand, right? If you're teaching on nutrition, then I'm assuming that there's something here in this rejection that caused you to maybe have your own challenges with nutrition or food or weight or self-image or something, right? And so the idea here is you tell the story, let the reader come to their own conclusion, right? Instead of just bluntly telling them, I was rejected. Let them come to their own conclusion, leave an open loop, then teach. What you're teaching then is, here's what it caused me this, caused me, issues of feeling, this sense of lack, that I wasn't worthwhile. And that led to this challenge. And now people that are reading it are going, holy cow, I have an issue with food and nutrition because maybe I have some type of loss I experienced in my life and I need to deal with that, right? In other words, you have something very powerful here, but what you have to do is you have to adapt the story in such a way that you're not a blunt instrument telling them I was rejected. You're showing them in the story that you were, and then you're directly relating that to the content. Okay. The last thing I'll share here, and then I'm going to go to the next one, is you asked for clarity on next steps. So you may not have next steps in every single chapter, as I said before, but next steps, for example, might be at the end of this chapter. Let's say that you taught on several things that might cause somebody to have an issue with food, right? Or maybe some type of issue with, their body image or something like that. Well, you might have an infographic or a tip sheet or something or even a short video course of 3 ways that you can recognize that you may have these issues when it comes to dealing with your own nutrition. In other words, the next steps is something free that you can give your reader that makes them want to go to your website and give you their email address. And it has to directly relate, ideally, to the content that you are sharing right at that moment. Okay? So, Sylvia, again, really commend you. Thank you for your kind words, and I commend you for kind of bearing your soul. And I hope you receive the things that I shared today. All right, Luba, let's go to yours. Luba has zip, zap, zop, focus, formulate, and follow through, or influence, impact, and independence. Now, let me just give you a brief critique on your title and your subtitle. Now, if somebody, and I read through everything here, and it seems like zip, zap, zop is actually something that is used quite frequently in like acting classes and things like that. So if your ideal client immediately gets that, like I would see zip, zap, zop, and I would think, oh, it's a children's book, right? I don't know. I've never taken an acting class, so I don't know that, right? But if your readers are just those that get it, that are actors or actresses or people that understand that, fantastic. If they're not, then you might want to rethink that because, it doesn't, no, look, I'm not the end of the world here. I'm not your ideal client, but I don't get it at all. And and you got to make sure that your ideal client will get this. Now, again, if your ideal client is an actor, then fantastic. And then your subtitle: focus, formulate, and follow through. That's all good, but with what? Focus on what? Formulate what? Follow through on what? Right? I don't know what that means. You need to express the benefits more. What does it mean to focus, formulate, and follow through? Why am I doing that? How does that benefit me? Right? So I'd go back and rewatch the training where we talk about hooks and titles and subtitles and spend a little bit of time in that. Now, I really like what you did here. You go right into the story about interactive exercise. Zip Zap Zop is an interactive exercise used by actors in a cast to refocus themselves. And you tell the whole story on what Zip Zap Zop is and how the game works. Really, really cool. I like that. The reason I chose yours as an example is you do something a little bit, advanced even, and that is you are like integrating two stories, which I think is really cool. So your first story is what Zip Zap Zop is, and you tell the story about, an actor and how the game works and, what the whole idea of the game is. Then you kind of culminate that, right? Then you lead right into this whole idea, this whole thing about when you made a decision to swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco. And I'm like, holy cow, who is this person? She's kind of cool. That sounds like crazy. And then you talk about, should I really have done it? And what was I thinking as you were in the water and you were swimming? You're like, is a shark going to come and bite me? And all that stuff. Really, really like that. Great open loop there. Obviously, you didn't finish here and you didn't go on to the points that you want to teach on and all of that. But your story, really good. Leaving an open loop, really good. You got to go into the rest, which is the content points that you want to teach on, and then come around. And the conclusion, I'm sure, is that, you have some of it in here. You reach the shore, you were old, etc. I would probably have left that for the end of it, but really good. I like how you integrated both of those stories. Okay, so I wanted to give you some feedback both on the title, Luba, as well as good feedback on how you integrated two stories. And the second one especially, is pretty riveting, but you don't have content points that you're teaching, and the open loop could be used maybe a little bit differently as well. So good stuff there though. All right, Jim, Leadership University. Let's go through Jim's. Jim's, I don't know, Jim, if this is like your complete chapter on developing a morning leadership ritual. Your content is very good. I went through it all. I'm a little like you. Like my morning routine is like, I'm cranky if I don't get to do my morning. I get up at 5 to 5:30 every single day. First thing I do is I take my dog for a long walk. I pray, I meditate. Like I read through your content. It's really good. However, it's like you sent me a chapter, but you didn't send me like any of the stuff that I taught. You didn't send me story, open loops, content points. It's like you just start with the content point. And you do talk about early in my career, I didn't have a morning routine. The very first thing. Okay, I get that, but that's not a story, right? Like a story, and you talk about your mentor and that kind of thing. A story, when I talk about story, and I've seen this in a couple of you already. When I talk about story, I'm talking about a story, right? A story is not you reminiscing about like the kind of person you are. A story is you telling a story that tells me what kind of person you are. In other words, instead of telling me early in my career I didn't have a morning routine, how about saying, it was another Friday, like 100 Fridays before it. And, it was 8:30 and I had hit the snooze for the, fourth or fifth time. I realized I was late for work and I might get fired. It's right. And now it's like, holy crap. Okay, I get the idea. Jim didn't have a morning routine. You know what I mean? Like, now I gave you a very short version of that story, but like, give me a story that interests me. about you not having a morning routine, right? Like my best friend from high school, we've been friends for 43 years, since we were 12 years old. He was in town with his wife and his brother, who I'm very good friends with, and his brother's wife, and they were all here. They stayed with us. They stayed in our guest house, and this was 2 weeks ago. And we were reminiscing about, we were young and ridiculously crazy, and 18 and 19 years old. And my friend had just gotten out of boot camp, Paris Island, and he went a Marine Corps Reserve. And this is, what a crappy friend I was, but we would like party all night. And I mean, we would be riding in at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired. Half the time I was, driving off the road, and I was just praying that, that I could either call in sick. And then my best friend would have to drive down we lived in Kissimmee, Florida, and he'd have to drive down, which is like a 2.5 hour drive to West Palm Beach area, and be ready Saturday morning for his reservist, his weekend. And, we talk about not having a morning routine. It was horrible. And what a terrible friend I was, keeping him out all night when he had, 2 full days of Marine Corps drills. Point is, tell me a story, like get me interested and captivated, and then teach me all of this stuff, right? This stuff is great, but this is like a journal. This is like, it's not quite a book. Like there's no story to captivate. You gotta give me something to, the story, the open loops, all that stuff is needed in here as well. Your writing is very good and your content is really good though. So congrats on all that stuff. I hope this is helpful, to everybody, and not too painful to those of you that are on the hot seat today. All right, Marcus, like what you did here, you have, opening story, you have, connect and teach. Oh, it's so funny. My best friend from high school just texted me. How about that? Must be like, the spirit or something connecting us. So, love what you did here, Marcus. You got, I can still see him standing in front of the whiteboard. And I some of this I didn't quite understand. At 3, but almost 2 meter beast on a stand and 4 wheels. So I don't quite understand. I think that just some typos there. He was turning his head back and forth between this whiteboard and a camera that was standing 2 meters away from the whiteboard. Marker made squeaking sounds, scratching over the surface. I hate that, right? Like I can hear that, right? You can hear like somebody squeaking and scratching on a whiteboard. Good. While something was furiously explaining an important concept. When he was done explaining, I recognized the simple yet devastating truth. Everything he was trying to prove was right, and I hadn't seen it in almost 20 years. In that very moment, almost felt like life was leaving my body. My head turned heavy, and I just wanted to go to sleep. I also suddenly knew what I had to do. Great. Done. Open loop, right? Now, I would, you got like 3 sentences here. So you can expound on that a little bit more, like expand it, grow it, tell me more, but really good. Like all this crazy stuff happened and you were like, oh my gosh, I'm having this revelation and whoa, and I know what I need to do. And you stop right there. And I'm like, what do you need to do? Right? Like, I want to know what do you need to do? And then, and then you teach, which is terrific. Then you come back around. What Sam had painted on the whiteboard was a little flywheel that he used to explain this basic decision all founders have to make and constantly reinforce. It has since helped hundreds of my customers and thousands of solopreneurs turn a bloody mess of exception handling, beauty contesting, non-business into an engine that would help me find passion that ultimately fulfills them. Next steps, ask yourself how you can make sure your business strives and if you want, download the visual summary flywheel. Great next steps. Great story, great open loop, great close. Yeah, good. You just need to expand it. You totally got it. You totally got the idea, which is great. I like what you've done. I like where it's gone. Good. All right. And TK, let's see. Hello, Rob. It's a wonderful rainy day here on the eastern shore of Maryland. Hope all is well there. Here's my homework. So story, summarizing my first chapter as much as possible. I begin with a personal experience. that gives clarity on my authority on the subject. And upon the conclusion of my story, I tell my reader that this didn't have to happen to me. Now, you're writing obviously on a very difficult subject, domestic violence. And so thank you for, summarizing it like this. And I'm sure it's very, very personal and painful. Open loop, you then tell the reader about female victims of domestic violence, the beginning of your loop, and I go on to explain that women are not the only victims. Awesome. Teaching content, I delve into male domestic violence victims and go on to explain that 15% of recorded cases are for men. In the close of the chapter, I explain that if I had known then about what I'm teaching them now, I would not have become a victim. Great. Yeah, great. There's a lot that I'm not seeing here, but you 100% have the right idea. There's a couple of different ideas, and things that you could even change, like what you have here, like this. What you have is the closed loop can actually be the open loop, right? Like you could actually open the loop by saying, if I only knew then what I know now, I would not have become a victim. And then you can teach them those things and then come back around. I'm not saying you need to change it. Yours is good, but I'm saying that there are pieces here that you can move around, and it works great that way also. And of course you attach the video, but I won't be showing that. So you have a great understanding of how this works. I love what you've done here, and think it's really, really good. So yeah. So, I mean, I think you're in good shape. And I think as much as you want to share in your homework is fine. I'll take whatever you guys decide to give me. And obviously just remember that anything that you do share with me, you may be on a hot seat in front of dozens or hundreds of other people. So, keep that in mind when it comes to, sharing your homework. Okay. Or share something with me and say, hey, this is private. I don't want anybody to see it. But Sylvia, Luba, Jim, Marcus, TK, great job. Great job. All of you, great job. And obviously in some cases, there might be some things that you could improve on, but thank you for sharing, and really like where you have all gone. Okay. All right. So unless there are any questions there, let us move on to today's content and the stuff that we have to share for today. Let me make sure my whiteboard is ready to go. Good. So, as a reminder, some of what I'm sharing, some of what I shared on Wednesday, and even some of the feedback I gave today, there may be some overwhelming stuff, right? You may see some of this and go, holy cow, I thought what I wrote was really great, and evidently Rob doesn't think it's great, and I don't know where to go. I do think it's great. So please don't put those words, in my mouth because I gave maybe some critique, but just as a reminder, mindset is really key. I mean, your book, your best-selling book, is your gateway to what you want, to your 7-figure and beyond business. So if you feel a little challenged by the things that I'm sharing, it's okay. I mean, none of us are great when we start anything. It takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of figuring it out before you're really great at it. And that's why I love the homework that you've sent in. And that's why I like giving feedback, because, some of you 100% got it. Others of you got it 90%. And you have some things 100% and some things 50%. Okay, great. Just remember, it's the gateway that you want. So stick with it, because it will take you there. Okay, let's do a recap of the things that I taught about hybrid ghostwriting. Remember, great content does these 5 things. It entertains, it educates, it magnetizes, it gives hope, and it gives next steps. These are the things that you want your content to do. If your content is not entertaining, then you probably have a problem in your story. If it's not educating, then you have an issue with the content points. If it's not magnetizing, then you're probably, a little too milquetoast, a little too, I'm trying to be everything for everybody instead of just being who I am, my authentic self. And if it doesn't give hope, then, why write it? Right? I mean, let's give people some hope, man. People need hope in this day and age. Then the process, of course, is this TED Talk model or TED Talk style of writing. And that has these 5 steps, which obviously in the homework I shared a great deal about. There's your story. Obviously, one of the things that I try to distinguish today in the homework review is that there is a difference between you telling a story and you just telling me something. Okay. It's different. It's different for you to tell a story that brings me to a conclusion than it is for you just to tell me the facts. Okay. Again, using Sylvia's example, the fact from your perspective was the rejection of your mother. That's a fact, and that's a painful fact, but that's not a story in and of itself. The story is maybe your first realization of that, or a conversation you had with your mother, maybe later in life about that. And now I'm coming to the conclusion that, oh, wow, that's challenging. By the way, just a bit revealing for me. I didn't meet my mom until I was 30 years old. I was raised by my grandparents. My mom and dad were divorced at 6 months old. I was raised with my dad's parents, and I didn't meet my mom until I was 30. And I've only met her one time in my life. Evidently that meeting at 30 didn't go so well. So, look, you sharing that kind of stuff, it's real life, right? It's real life for a lot of us. So thank you again for sharing it. But there's a difference between telling me facts and telling me a story. Tell me a story. Then open loops, leaving the story not culminated, then teaching from that story, then closing the loop, concluding with it, and then giving me next steps. Now, remember, next steps don't have to be in every single chapter. Okay. Is this helpful to everybody? You guys got a good reminder here of what we need to do. Lots of thumbs up from the VIPs. Love it. Awesome. Great. Okay. Let's dive into the marketing portion. The BSP strategy that launched 1,000 bestsellers. This is part 1. There are 2 parts to this, and this is something that I could teach a lot on. So obviously we're going to be going through quite a bit of this together. Okay. So you may remember our very first session together, I talked about this. The New York Times did a survey. They found that out of 200 million adult Americans, 150 million adult Americans, on average, about 81% of Americans want to write a book. Amazing. How many Americans want to write a book? The problem, of course, is less than 1% ever actually do that. Some of you are in this 1%. You've written books. Congratulations. But it doesn't end there, right? Because the average book in its lifetime sells about 250 copies ever, okay? What's the problem with this? Well, as a reminder, the problem is making sure, sorry, I want to make sure that I don't shut the screen off. The problem is making sure that we have the right model. Remember, the model is publish, promote, profit. 1.0 is grind. 1.0 is already, I need a platform. And 1.0 is primarily focused on royalties. Okay. So this platform issue is what we are faced with when it comes to the second part. Okay. Most of us don't have a massive platform. And quite honestly, I have, 80 to 90,000 people on an email list. These are all people who have opted in. I have tens of thousands of people who have read and purchased my books, tens of thousands of paying customers. And I would not consider myself to have a massive platform, right? So the idea that we need to have a massive platform before we launch our book, or we end up with a book that just does, 250 sales in its lifetime. That's unacceptable. We need to turn it around. Instead, Author 2.0 is about using your book to make money and grow your platform at the same time. That is what it is about. That is what it is for me. That is what it is for my clients. And I believe that you will be most successful if you embrace that idea. You're going to embrace the idea of building your platform at the same time as making money and selling your book. Okay. When you do it right, really, really good things happen. A couple of months ago, my client, Rob Nixon, came to me. He's got a very small niche. Rob only works with accountants that are earning at least $1 million a year, accounting firms. There are probably no more than, 15, 20,000 accounting firms that are in this worldwide demographic. Maybe there's a few more, but not many more. Rob only takes on 64 clients. He has a multi-million-dollar business. So I helped Rob do this book, The Wealthy Accountant, how accountants can earn more than, it's just covered up, more than 1 million profit while working less than 500 hours. That's the book that Rob did. The book went really well. Within his very first week of launching it, Rob posted this: winning. Book launched last week. Went to #1 on Amazon in key categories, thanks to Rob Kosberg and team. Made my first sale just now for $90,000 off the back of the book. And then you can see he was #1 in the USA, #3 in the UK, #1 in Canada, #1 in Australia. He's actually based out of Australia. See, the idea here is, yes, it was just launched last week. Yes, it's a tiny audience, but already he's 90 grand up in the first week of using the book. That's the idea. We grow the platform, we make money, we do all that at the same time. I shared with you about my client, Bill Stack, before. Bill's a great friend and obviously became a client first before he became a friend. He shared about, how this company, I'll read. A lady called and came in this month carrying an illustration we provided in 2012. She says she just read our book, didn't even know she had the book, and wanted to do some business. I told her we'd have to freshen up that illustration, LOL, but the concepts were the same. She hired us for the cost of creating the book. Now, this is tens of thousands of dollars because he hired me to do it. But the book was already paid for in 2016. Now we have to find other ways to spend the revenues coming in from the best-selling book. Thanks again, Rob, and everybody at BSP. This has happened over and over for Bill. Every single probably 3 or 4 months, Bill posts something else about, being quoted with Warren Buffett or Trump or Elizabeth Warren or Ben Bernanke, all because of his book. He shares about conferences that he's invited to speak at because of his book, etc. And the goal here is not just about these things, but it's about using these things to grow his platform, to sell his book, and to make money all at the same time. Okay? So I'm going to give you the 5-step launch strategy. There are 5 pieces to this puzzle. These are the 5 steps that we're going to go through. Step number 1 is what we call the soft launch or the review phase. The soft launch or the review phase. Now, reviews are really important for a book. I shared with you Kalen's book the other day, 429 4- and 5-star reviews. If you did a search for this book or a search for fitness-related books and you came across this, what would you assume? Would you assume that this is a pretty good book? Or would you assume, no, it's not? Now, you may not like some of the things that you see. You may not like that, she's an ISBB pro athlete, that she's on the cover in her bikini. You may not like the title, but there's no mistaking the fact that this is a successful book with hundreds of 4- and 5-star reviews. You see this and you go, okay, this is a good book, right? Now, on the contrary, just the other day, I did this search. You can see some of these books were from 2020, and I just did a search on Amazon for fitness books. What did I find? Here's a fitness book, no reviews, 0 reviews. Now, what does it say when a book has 0 reviews? It says to me, nobody's really interested in the book. Now, by the way, I just took one screenshot, and all 3 of these were in one screenshot, just followed each other. Then there's this I mean, I don't even know why this is a book, The Personal Fitness Merit Badge Pamphlet by the Boy Scouts of America. It has 2 one-star reviews. Oh my gosh. 2, like Boy Scouts of America, please take this down. Like, this is not helping your credibility by having 2 one-star reviews on here. You are better off not having a book on Amazon than to have a book that is poorly reviewed. And then this one, Fitness, Health, and Positivity, How to Build a Natural Defense System. Again, no reviews whatsoever. If you saw Kalen's book, or, someone else's book, like Kalen's 429 reviews, or this is Tim and Julie Harris Real Estate, and their hundreds of reviews, what would you think? You would think, okay, I have this one that has no reviews, and I can be the test case, the guinea pig, or I have this one with hundreds of positive reviews, and it doesn't need even to have hundreds. My book has been sold 30 to 40,000 times in the last year, and I have, this is old, I have probably 85 4 and 5-star reviews, right? Like, it's hard to get reviews. So when you have 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400, you have tens of thousands of people that are purchasing your book and organically offering a review. When that happens, you know you've done something right. And all the people that find your book on Amazon, they also know that's a good book. It's a book that I should read. So let me give you 2 ways, or at least there are 2 ways that our clients get reviews. And I'm going to give you a little bit of strategy when it comes to this as well. Let me clear my whiteboard because I'm going to do a little whiteboard stuff. Now, the first way is something that we do in the Bestseller Publishing private mastermind Facebook community. I have about 900 of my past clients in this private Facebook group. And what we do is every single week, we're launching, 1, 2, 3 new books for our clients. And during the launch, there are multiple phases of the launch. The first phase is this soft launch review phase. So what we do in this phase is I will come before the group. I do a live coaching call every Tuesday at noon Pacific. I usually have about 40 or 50 of my clients on that live call. And I'll say, okay, guys, this week, this is the book that we have for review. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. And I'm going to give you some of the language that you'll use as well. I tell my clients right now, the book is a digital version only for 99 cents. I want you to download the book, the digital version. I want you to pick 2 or 3 chapters. That's it. 1 or 2 or 3 chapters. I want you to read those chapters, and I want you to write me a couple of sentences as a review. So again, the methodology: download the book because we want an Amazon verified review, and then read a couple chapters and write a couple sentences. Read a couple, write a couple. Now, this is something we do every single week. And so you can see, Bill, purchase, read, peruse, 5-star recommendation. Thanks, Bill. David, on it. Corey, on it. And you can just see, dozens and dozens of our clients, 15 comments here, 36 people there that did it. This is a way that we get reviews. Now, obviously, this is for my clients, but you can be a part of a author community, if not my community. And that author community can help to review each other's books. Now, let me just say this, because someone is going to say, or someone is going to wonder, or even if you don't, let me just tell you very, very honestly that Amazon doesn't love this. Okay. Now, you're not doing anything illegal. You're not doing anything wrong. You're asking people for a genuine review, but Amazon doesn't want like authors reviewing other authors' books. They don't want your friends. They don't want your family reviewing your book. Why? Because they're your friends. They're your family. There's something that maybe isn't 100% organic about that. However, here's the way it works. Amazon has an algorithm. None of us know what it is. Maybe it pulls from social media. Maybe it pulls from people's buying habits on Amazon, and they will reject some of the reviews that you get. Your mom may come on and review your book, and your mom's review may get rejected, right? Your husband, your wife's, your friends' review may get rejected. For the most part, 60, 70% of your reviews are going to be fine. Amazon will reject some of them. And I tell my clients, look, that's just part of the price. Okay. All we're trying to do is get 10, 20 good reviews as a foundation. And the way to do that initially, one of the ways is by having some type of community that you're a part of where you're helping one another, right? Now you're giving an honest review. And by the way, if you read someone's stuff and it's terrible, then before you give them a 1-star review, just message them back and say, you know what? I read your stuff. There's tons of typos. There's tons of mistakes. I think you need to spend a little bit more time on it. So I'm not going to give you a review. I just wanted to tell you that, right? I mean, if you're in a community where you're trying to help each other, then you can give them some critical feedback rather than lying and give them a 5-star review, or hurting them and giving them a 1-star review. Give them the feedback. But for the most part, that's not what you're going to find. And certainly in our BSP community, nothing is published without it being edited, proofread, and gone over with a fine-tooth comb. Okay. So that's the number one way to get reviews, is you being in some community where you're helping one another, like an author community. Let me give you the number 2 way. And this is also about community, but it's about you building community. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to create a list. By the way, this sounds like homework, doesn't it? And that list is going to be of a few different things. SOI is your sphere of influence. Sphere of influence. Friends. Family. Clients. And by the way, that's past and present, right? Current clients, past clients, etc. And in creating this list, ideally, I tell my clients, get about 100. Come up with about 100 people that are on this list. And here's what I suggest. And I tell my clients that this is a little bit of elbow grease, but this works, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to communicate directly with these people. So I gave you what the list is. Now let's talk about the communication. There are steps to communicate with them, right? Number 1 is be personal. Be personal. So let's say on this list is, a Facebook friend that you met at a conference, and you've developed a friendship, but you don't speak to them very often. You don't engage with them very often. Here is what the lazy author does, and it doesn't work. The lazy author posts on Facebook, hey, I just launched a new book. Please download the book and give me a review. And guess how many people actually do that? Like none. Almost none do that. Why? Because you're given, I don't need another job. You know what I mean? Like I got a real job, and I got to walk the dog 5 times a day, and I got to practice my golf game. And my wife's got a long list of stuff that I need to do, right? I've been married 30 years. I know what it is to take orders. And so I don't need another job from a random person I haven't talked to in a year on Facebook. I'm not going to do it. However, when would I do it? Well, let's say, Jackie messaged me. Hey, Rob, loved your challenge. Oh, man, learned so much. By the way, don't all do this, okay? That's a terrible example that I just thought of. Jackie says, oh, loved the challenge. Really got so much out of it. Thank you. Thanks for engaging, with me. I know you have a Harley, and my Harley ride was, interesting to you. I wonder, Rob, if you wouldn't do me a favor. Step 2, ask for a favor. Would you download my book? Right now, it's on sale for 99 cents. And here's what I'm doing. I'm in the soft launch right now. I'm giving you the script. This is the script. I'm in what we call soft launch. In other words, we haven't told the world about my book yet. And I'm only telling special people like you, like my inner circle, because what I'd love for you to do is I'd love for you to download it at this 99-cent price point. That's the digital version. until it's going to go up to full price, $20 in a few weeks. But right now it's at 99 cents. I want you to download it. And then I want you to read a couple and write a couple. Look, I don't want you to read the whole book, but like just read a couple chapters of it. And then do me a favor, write a couple of sentences as a review based on the chapters that you read. Rob, would you do that for me? Question mark. Now, look, if you sent me a personal Facebook message, obviously if we're friends, because if you send me a personal Facebook message and we're not friends, I won't get it, right? Because it goes to the other box. But if, and Jackie's laughing, I didn't mean that, personally to you, Jackie, but if like you are friends with someone on Facebook and you send them a message, they're going to get the message, right? Like it hits their inbox. Now, if you're not friends with them, it doesn't hit their inbox. It goes to what's called the other box, right? But if you're personal, so you remind them of what it is that connected you in the first place, or your last conversation together. You ask them for a favor, and then you tell them what you want them to do. Download the book for 99 cents, read a couple, write a couple. That's it. You know what? If you ask 100 people, you'll get about 20 to 25 of them to do it. And there's 20 to 25 reviews. I know this is a lot of work. Okay. This is like elbow grease here. I know it's a lot of work, but it is a lot better. If you go to Amazon right now and you type in your subject matter, you're going to find the majority of books on Amazon have very few good reviews. And you know what? Once your book is kind of labeled by Amazon and by others that are finding it as not a very good book and not many reviews, then guess what? You're on a really bad track and it's hard to get off of, because Amazon is your partner in this. And part of the way that Amazon profits is they send traffic to your book and to your page because they know it's a good book and they're getting paid every time someone buys it. So you need to give them what they want. And let me tell you, the number one thing they want, good reviews. This is something that we tell our clients to do in the first 2 to 3 weeks of launch. Okay. First 2 to 3 weeks of launch. This is the soft launch, okay? So I gave you 2 ways. Way number 1, be a part of an author community and help each other. Way number 2, make your list and then communicate in these 4 ways. Personal, ask them to download it, and then 2 and 2, okay? Remember what the 2 and 2 is? Read a couple, write a couple. You don't want them thinking they need to read the whole book. I don't have time to read your whole book, but if Jackie says, Rob, hey, remember, I'm the Harley rider. Remember we talked. Remember you used me as an example. Remember. Yeah. Hey, just read a couple chapters. I go, okay, that's a 10-minute commitment, 15-minute commitment. I can do that. And then write a couple sentences. I can do that, right? So you'll get 20 to 25% of the people actually doing this for you. Okay? So there you go. There is your review strategy. I know it is work, but it is worth it. It is worth it to do the work. Okay. Let's see. Any questions anybody have? Let me see if any questions from Este says, nice to see him number 1 in his actual category, not some obscure one. Oh yeah. Talking about Rob Nixon. Great. Can next steps encompass this, directing traffic to these reviews? That sounds awesome. Good. Okay. All right. So that's number 1. That's the first 2 to 3 weeks of your launch. Now, the next steps, the next 3 steps for sure, and even 4 steps. Let me say it like this. The next 3 steps all happen at the same time. Okay. So what's going to happen after your soft launch is now you have a good foundation of excellent reviews for Amazon and for anybody else that's going to see your book for sale. Now we want to schedule what we call the hard launch. Okay. The hard launch is where we're going to send a ton of traffic all at the same time. In a 1-week period, we're going to flood the market with traffic, sending everybody to your Amazon page so we can get a bunch of downloads and sales. The first thing we're going to do is paid advertising. Paid advertising. Now, I just did a real quick search on Google, websites to advertise my book. And I don't have time to tell you about the 60 that we do, right? But they're These are the 60 best because I've been doing this for 9.5 years. But I did a quick, if you want to do this on your own, you just do a quick Google search, websites to advertise my book, and you'll see 127 free and paid, 46 top websites, 100 best free and paid promotion sites, etc. This is how you can pay $10 for, a 3-day promotion on a website that gets, 50,000 visitors a week, 50,000 visitors a month, etc. And the idea is not to do this with 1, 2, or 3 websites. We use 60 different advertising sites. These are the biggest sites, the best sites. In fact, this got so complicated a few years ago. I shared with you guys about this, but I didn't really go into much detail. We built our own software tool that's cost me tens of thousands of dollars to build and to maintain. And this book submission tool basically allows us, this helps us because we submit, 2, 3 books every single week of our clients for paid advertising and promotion. And this allowed us to basically simplify the process and save like 20 man hours a book. Because let's say that you're going to advertise your book on a website. And what you need to do that is like, you need the ASIN number, you need the title, you need the description, you need the author's name, you need the author's website, you need 15 different things, not to mention you got to pay for it, etc. And so I had my team typing, all this stuff, copy and paste. And so we said, you know what? A lot of this is redundant. For 30, 40, 50 of these sites, it's redundant. So let's create a software that literally will go in and auto-populate everything for us. And then we can click a few buttons and bam, these 30 or 40 sites are done. And I actually have my youngest son working for me, Cole. And Cole is our book submission person. And he does the other 15 or 20 manually by hand, because not every single site in the world integrates, because they're all different. So hopefully that makes sense. What you need to do is, when it comes time to do paid advertising, we're not talking about running one little ad. Now, I don't want to freak you out about, 60 sites is going to cost you $6,000 to advertise your book. No, it's not going to cost that much. Now, it can cost $1,000, $1,500, something like that when all is said and done. So it can cost a little bit of money, but when you do it the right way, you will have, and I am not exaggerating, tens of thousands of people going to your book in this short window of time. And that's how we can guarantee at Bestseller Publishing that our clients are going to be number one, a bestseller number one in their category and in multiple countries. We actually guarantee that in writing, or we issue a full refund. How can I do that? People are always like, how can you do that? I do that because I know how much traffic we're going to be sending. So when you do this the right way, you send that much traffic, you are going to hit number one. And I'm not talking about for an hour or 2 or 3. I'm talking about the entire week from day one. We normally launch on a Monday all the way through the weekend. Our clients hit number one, and many of them stay number one, because once you get that Amazon momentum going, Amazon continues to send you traffic. One good site that I figured it's worth mentioning to you is BookBub. BookBub is very, very difficult to get approved for, but and it's expensive as well. To advertise on BookBub by itself could be just the one site could be $500 to $1,000 just for this one site. However, this one site, they have a list of millions of people in every category. And if you do get approved to advertise your book on BookBub, then you can hit number one very, very quickly just from one great website. Now, I wouldn't recommend putting all your eggs in one basket ever, right? Like, you're only going to do this first book launch one time. So you want to do it the right way. So even if we do get BookBub, we still use the other 50 or 60 sites, plus all the other things I'm going to share. So again, you got to do this right, because you're only going to get a chance to do it one time. Okay. But I want to at least share BookBub because it's a fantastic resource. Okay. Next, social media. Remember, 2, 3, and 4 all happen at the same time. So this whole week, this is your hard launch week. We're going to do paid advertising every single day on all of these websites to send a flood of traffic. But we're not done. What we're also going to do is social media. Now, if you've ever noticed, and I'm sure you have, especially those of you who've purchased my book, you will see people advertising their book on social media all the time. Brenda Bouchard offered his #1 New York Times bestseller. Dean Holland, who's a buddy of mine, we met in Russell Brunson's Inner Circle group, did it with his. Of course, Russell Brunson constantly advertises all of his books, .com Secrets, Expert Secrets, Traffic Secrets, all of them. The Traffic and Funnel guys, I thought this was interesting. Not a lot of people know who these guys are, although they run a really big 8-figure business. Here's this one book, Crypto Revolution. It's got 745,000 views. I mean, social media is a great place to run advertising because of the amount of targeting that you can do. You can laser target your ideal client. Let's say your ideal client is a demographic of, women age 45 to 65 that are in a certain socioeconomic class, meaning that, their household income is $100,000 and above, et cetera. You can layer all of these things for Facebook, Instagram advertising, and just put your book right in front of those people. So it's a great way to promote your book, not just once, but on an ongoing basis. And then the third thing you're going to do number 4. Remember, 2, 3, and 4 are all done the same week. And that is press releases. Now, we do 3 U.S. national press releases for our launch week. So, and this is let me give you the breakdown of what that looks like. The first press release is done day 1. We usually launch on a Monday. We write the first press release on that Monday. The second press release, and it's announcing this brand new book, et cetera. The second press release is done on a Wednesday. And then the third press release is done on a Friday or Saturday. And each one builds on one another, with the third press release basically saying, look, you have 1 day left on this promotion. And then after that, the book is no longer, on promotion. Okay. So press releases are really, really good. They're also great for search engine optimization. I did a search of Publish, Promote, Profit on Google. And look at this. The first thing that popped up was the press release that we wrote for Publish, Promote, Profit. So that even came up before my website, Publish, Promote, Profit. So it's great for search engine optimization. You can also see this is what a great press release looks like. It just talks about, that this book is on promotion. Just really good things happen with press releases, especially if you write them the correct way. So all 3 of those things, paid ads, social media, and 3 press releases, we do in a 1-week period. We send a flood of traffic. If you do it just like I said, you send a flood of traffic, and your book will hit bestseller during that week. Your book will have 20 to 25 4- and 5-star reviews. And if you're good, really good at it, it may have 90, 100, 150, even like, Kalen's book, 400 plus, depending on the size of your audience. Okay. Now, number 5 is more of an ongoing book promotion strategy. It can be a promotion strategy that you use during the launch week, but really it's more ongoing a strategy. And that is websites, blogs, and podcasts. Websites, blogs, and podcasts. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say that you wrote a book on corporate culture, okay? I have a lot of clients that are very high-level corporate consultants. They get 6-figure engagements from corporations to help them with their culture, et cetera. So I just picked this out of a hat. And one day I typed in corporate culture blogs, okay? So in other words, whatever your topic is, your topic blogs, right? Mine might be, writing blogs, book publishing blogs, things of that nature. And so corporate culture, not like this massive audience, right? Kind of small. And I pulled this up. These are blogs that just popped up. This is the first result that came up in Google. And I saw this Tiny Pulse blog. Okay. Don't know if you've ever heard of it. I had not heard of it. So let me tell you what you can do to test this out is you can use something called SimilarWeb just to see what kind of activity the blog gets. So I typed in Tiny Pulse blog into SimilarWeb. You can see tinypulse.com. And I found out that this blog gets 300,000 views a month on corporate culture. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that there were that many people that cared about corporate culture. But there are 300,000 views a month. So imagine for a moment that you are a corporate culture expert and you have now found a blog that gets hundreds of thousands of views a month. Here's the beauty of this. Here's the magic of this. You don't have to write a blog for 11 years to the point where it finally gets 300,000 views a month because you've just found one that somebody else has written about. Now, don't forget, you are the expert on the subject matter because you just wrote a best-selling book on the subject, right? So you're an expert on it. So imagine going to Tiny Pulse. You go to their website, right? tinypulse.com/blog. And you find out that, you know what? There are featured blog posts on Tiny Pulse. In other words, they take experts in the corporate culture space and they allow those experts to submit blogs. And guess what? At the end of every one of the blogs that they submit is a little bit of write-up of who Max Wolf is, who Rob Kosberg is, who TK Barnett is, who Dr. Allen is, right? Who Sylvia Betancourt is. And you can say, you know, Sylvia Betancourt is the best-selling author of XYZ. And if you'd like to get a copy of it, go to xyz.com. So now those hundreds of thousands of people every single month that are coming to this blog post, some of them are coming to you. It's free traffic. It's a free opportunity. And you know, the beautiful thing about it is when you write a great post, people will come to it, not just the week or the month that you post that, but they'll come to it forever. It will be a continual source of traffic to your book, back to you. Okay. So blogs, podcasts, websites, these are great ways. What you need to understand is, you know, this idea of building a platform before you launch your book is so unnecessary. Like why take years to build a platform when all you need to do is access somebody else's platform that they took years to build, like Tiny Pulse. Who knows how long this website has been around? Certainly for years it's been around. And you know what? I'm the best-selling author on corporate consulting. I can write a blog post on there. I can be a featured writer. I think I shared with you the very first day that Bill Stack, my financial services client, did that and ended up being paid by a FINRA magazine to write a monthly post that exploded his business, and they actually paid him to write an ongoing article. If you use your book as a best-selling author the right way, then you can get an unlimited amount of traffic to your stuff, to your books, etc., by using this methodology. Does that make sense, everybody? VIPs, nod your head or type in the chat box or something and say, Rob, that makes a lot of sense. Good. Good. Let's talk about the idea of a relaunch. Some of you have already launched your book and it didn't do very well. Maybe initially, you got a little bit of activity and it didn't do well. And so I get this question a lot, and I figure it's worthwhile to share an example. Now, I have many of my clients as examples, but I think mine is a cool one. So I launched my book in July of 2018. And I did a special relaunch. Now, this was very expensive, and I don't guarantee this for anybody, but I did a special relaunch of my book. And I used a lot of paid email list to send traffic to my book in this relaunch. Now you can see the dates on this. This is this year, March 23rd of 2020. So this is more than 18 months after I launched my book. And look at the numbers. This is every day, and we're having like 1,000 to 2,000 paid buyers a day. Now, I'm not promising that that's what you'll get, because I spend an enormous amount of effort. However, what I shared with you will work to hit bestseller, but I wanted to do something special on this. I wanted to see if I could hit Wall Street Journal and USA Today with my book, even though my book came out 18 months prior. And you know what? We did. So it was the number 5 book on the Wall Street Journal best-selling list, Publish, Promote, Profit, The New Rules of Writing, Marketing, and Making Money with a Book. And it was also top in the USA Today nonfiction list as well. And all that was 18 months after my book was launched in the first place. So I guess what I want to say to you is, if for some reason you've already launched your book and your book didn't do as well as you had hoped, don't think that you need to write an entirely new book. You can actually either maybe do a small rewrite of your book and relaunch it, or you can relaunch it exactly as it is, like I did. My book was already a bestseller in multiple countries and categories, but I wanted to really pump it up hard. And you know what? 18 months later doesn't matter. It still works. So this process that I'm sharing with you will work for you if you had already published a book, and look, it works best if you do it all right in the beginning, right? I mean, if you just get the steps in line and all the things I shared with you in the beginning, those 5 steps culminating with the ongoing strategy of podcasts, websites, blogs, etc., then you know what? You're going to have a great amount of traffic in the beginning and ongoing traffic down the road as well. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions specifically about that, and I will do my best to answer them. Let me give you a little extra credit. Remember, all this is part 1. Okay. This isn't part 2. There's still a whole part 2 tomorrow. So let me give you some extra credit on part 1. Number 1, email list. So email list means 2 things. One is you need to build an email list. Okay. I shared with you that the other day. Part of growing your platform is growing your email list, because as you grow your email list and as you have an engaged group of people, then you will have people that will buy your stuff over and over and over again, because your stuff is good and because you do what you say you're going to do, right? So you want to build your own email list. But here's the thing. If you don't have an email list right now, you can buy email lists. Right? Like what I did primarily, my primary strategy to get on the Wall Street Journal list was to buy email drops and pay for ways to get my book in front of people I thought were my ideal buyers that had big email lists. Now, it's not a strategy that I really suggest to a beginner, but this is an extra credit type of thing, right? This is not something I would tell you to do right out of the gate, because it's expensive and it might not lead to real cash in your pocket, right? It might lead to something that's more of like an accolade. Let's be honest. No one paid me more money today because I'm a Wall Street Journal bestseller than I got paid before I was a Wall Street Journal bestseller. That's just the truth. Like I don't go around public speaking. If I primarily was a public speaker, yes, my fees might go from $8,000 to $15,000 because of being a Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller. But that's not my gig. It's not what I do. So for most people, this is not the number 1 strategy, but every one of you need to build your own email list, and this may be an extra credit strategy for you down the road. Number 2, Amazon ads. Amazon ads is something all of you should be doing. Amazon wants you to sell your book, and they will, via their paid advertising platform, put you in front of the ideal client. And look, for the most part, it's not a way to make a fortune, but it is a way to make sure that every time somebody types in corporate culture on Amazon, your book pops up. And if the CEO of a $100 million company is looking for an expert on corporate culture and your book pops up as number 1, I tell you what, that could lead to some real big money for you and some real big opportunities. So, and it's super cheap to do Amazon ads. And most of the time it pays for itself, right? Because you pay $100 in Amazon ads and you sell $100 worth of books. Look, Amazon they make out on both ends, which is fine. But remember, what we're trying to do is grow our platform and make money at the same time. As long as it's not costing you a fortune to do it, it's a great strategy. Number 3, PR and media. I'm going to talk more about PR and media, but let me just mention it. When was the last time you saw a major author, Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, right? A major author launch a book and not go on some type of big PR media tour? Like never. Even the most famous people in the world, like the Hillary Clintons and Michelle Obamas, when they write books, even the most famous ones in the world, they hit media like crazy. They're on the Today Show. They're on Good Morning America. Now, they can get on anything they want, right? Because they're who they are. But they're on all the media that they can get on. And you know what? It's a great strategy. I mean, getting on TV. I mean, we have our own in-house PR department. I have 3 full-time publicists, and that's all they do all day long is book our clients on. We've had clients on everything from Howard Stern and Jenny McCarthy to, like I said, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, you name it. And the idea is twofold. One, great authority and credibility comes from TV and media. And also, hey, you sell books and you get opportunities to sell other stuff. So I will talk more about PR and media. Number 4, speaking. I don't know what your plan is for speaking. You know what mine is. Maybe I'll do 1 or 2 engagements a year. This is the kind of speaking I like to do, right? My dog is laying on the chair right behind me. I'm in my guest house, which is my office. When I'm done, I'm going to, head down and meet a buddy for dinner because my wife has some girlfriends in town, right? Like, this is my speaking. I get to speak to my audience and I don't have to leave my shack, right? I'm looking at the water right out the window right there. This is great. But some of you want to speak. Like I have a client, Amy Dix. I think Amy is going to be on with us maybe Saturday or Sunday. And Amy used what I taught her. We helped her do 2 best-selling books. And I taught her how to use her books to get speaking engagements. And she got 90 paid speaking engagements in an 18-month period. Amy went from airport and airline and city after city after city. And she was getting $5,000 for a speaking engagement. And she loved it. She loved every minute of it. Great. If that's the life you want, then let me tell you, being a best-selling author, there is nothing better than being a best-selling author to book yourself on great speaking opportunities. I will share with you the entire how to book yourself on speaking, and I'll probably have Amy on, but it will probably be on Sunday if I can get Amy for Sunday, maybe Monday. I'll keep you posted on when that is. And then last but not least, Facebook groups. Now, I shared with you about having an author community where you can support one another, right? That could be a Facebook group, but that's not the kind of Facebook group that I mean. The kind of Facebook group that I mean is a Facebook group not of people that are like you that can help you, but people that are your potential clients that you can serve, okay? This Facebook group that I'm teaching, this is the kind of Facebook group I'm talking about, right? Why? Can you help me? Of course, you could write a review for my book. You can give me a video testimonial. I appreciate all that. But really, this is about me helping you and also me proving my value, you getting a feel of, I like Rob or I don't like Rob or you know what, I think I'd rather just have Rob to do it. Or you know what, I'm learning so much, I think I'm going to do it myself, right? This is the kind of Facebook group that you can build also where you're serving, you're teaching, you're enjoying yourself. And guess what? You will make plenty of money from it. So we teach our clients how to do this exact same thing with a challenge or using a book and driving people into a Facebook group or some type of community like that, right? So these are extra credit. I have more extra credit to talk to you about tomorrow, but this is kind of part 1 of launching your book, okay? Let me go through this one more time just to make sure we get it, right? These are the 5 steps. The first 2 to 3 weeks is your soft launch or your review phase. Then you schedule the hard launch. The hard launch is paid advertising. We use 60 to 70 different sites. Social media, that's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Press releases, at least 3 national press releases. And then as an ongoing strategy, websites, blogs, and podcasts that will always drive new opportunities to you. Okay. And then the extra credit. And I just went over the extra credit with you. Bam. Okay. What is your book? Somebody tell me. Your book is what? Your book is your gateway to your 7-figure and beyond business. It's not just your book, it's your best-selling book. That is your gateway, okay? That's what you want. You want a best-selling book in your topic that positions you as the expert, that positions you as the magician, the one that can help them, right? Because you are, you're not faking it till you make it. You got to be an expert to write on the topic. You're the person, but now your book goes before you. It lays the foundation. It allows you to build a business around it that could be certainly 6 figures, and it could be 7 and 8 figures and beyond. I've made 8 figures plus from my best-selling books, and you can as well. So let's talk about what part 2 is for just a second. Part 2 tomorrow is the bestseller strategy that launched 1,000 bestsellers. Part 2 is going over more details on ongoing strategies, as well as a little bit more detail in PR, media, speaking engagements. Okay. That's all going to be tomorrow. That's going to be at 3:00 Eastern. Again, we've been going about 90 minutes. It will probably be about 90 minutes again tomorrow. I've gotten, just so I say this, I've gotten emails from several of you. Actually, most of the VIPs, I've gotten these emails. And several of you have asked, Rob, we just want to work with you. What's the price of the program? How can we work with you? What's the deal? And so thank you, first of all, for that. My sinister strategy is working beautifully. You know what it is, right? What it is I'm going to teach you. I'm going to share with you. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to show you what we do. It's all in the book anyway. And then some of you are going to raise your hand and say, how about you just doing it? Because my time is more valuable than that amount of money, and I want a guaranteed result. Great. So here's the deal. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a really special offer for you. And I'm only going to take 10 or 15 minutes to go over it. It's, an offer I never make. It's stacked with incredible bonuses and opportunities. So for those of you that ask the question via email or have asked the question like on the Facebook chat or whatever, rather than us doing a one-on-one call, I'm going to share it with everybody at the same time. You're going to know the full price of the program. You're going to know the details, and I'm going to explain exactly how it works. Okay. And so that's my dog saying hi. Bob, I know. He's very big and handsome. I love my dog. And so all that is going to be tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow, 3:00 Eastern, I'm going to go through the entire part 2 strategy, and then I'm going to go through that as well. Let's talk for a minute about homework. Here is what your homework is. Now, remember what the prize is that we're going to award tomorrow. Tomorrow's award is going to be 4 one-on-one sessions with one of my award-winning ghostwriters. Okay, that is what the giveaway is for tomorrow. Here is what your homework is. It is not terribly complicated, but it is going to take a little bit of thought. Number 1, I want you to start mapping out the launch of your book. Start mapping out the launch of your book. What do I mean by that? I mean, give me a timeline. Goals aren't goals until you put a timeline to your goals. When do you want the launch to begin? When do you want the book published? When do you want the soft launch to begin? When do you want the hard launch to begin? Map that out for me. Okay, that's number 1. Pretty simple. I'm just looking for timelines. Number 2 is I want you to begin your list of assets. Okay. Begin your list of assets. Do you remember what the assets were? And this would be like, it could be a Word doc or an Excel spreadsheet. Your assets are the things that I shared about, like your sphere of influence, which might be Facebook friends that you have a relationship with, LinkedIn connections that you have a relationship with, coworkers, your list of friends, your list of family that would support you, your list of past clients and current clients that would support you. I want you to begin putting your list together. Now, I do want you to give me that list. Don't worry, I'm not going to steal those people's names. I don't care about that. But at least put their first name down, because I want to see that you're actually making this list. This is for you. It's not for me. But I do want to see that. I want to see Rob K, right? Or Dr. A, or TKB, right? Or Sylvia B. Just start making your list. Friends, family, sphere of influence, clients, past clients, present clients. These are the people you're going to go to. Remember, I suggest a list of 100. Can you do a list of 20? Sure you can. I suggest you advertise on 60 websites like we do. Can you advertise on one? You don't need to do anything, right? I mean, it's a free world. But if we're doing the challenge together, make a list of 100. I'm telling you, it'll be worth it for you. It'll take a little time, but that's your two things to do. Number one, start mapping out your launch, specifically the when. And number two, list your assets, sphere of influence, friends, family, etc. Put that list together. I want to see what that list is. Okay. So let's see. Are there any questions for me? VIPs, do you have any questions? I know we've been going for a while, and so maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm going to stop the share for just a second just to go to the chat. And let me go back here. Let's see. I don't see anything on chat. Let's see. Anita says, goals without deadlines are only dreamy dreams. Yes. Rob, are you asking for us to do what's on the extra credit list? No. I am asking for you to make a calendar of when you're going to launch your book. In other words, Rob, my book is not done yet. I haven't even started it, but I want to launch it by January 15th. And that's when the soft launch is going to be. That's what I mean by that. And then your list of your assets is your sphere of influence, friends, family, etc. Those that you can get reviews from. That's what we're talking about. Jim says, regarding the launch, part one, how long from the time we get the final edit in your hands? So if we're doing it, let me give you a timeline. If someone gives us the final edit of a book, then here's the steps we need to do. First thing we need to do is get your cover design and exterior designed. We also need to do the formatting and the interior design. All of that is going to take 2 weeks minimum, and it could be up to 3 or 4 weeks because there's a lot of going back and forth. At that point, it's ready to be published. So at that point, we hit publish, and that's when we start the soft launch. So we're talking about 2 to 4 weeks, and then the soft launch can begin, Jim. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Tina said, did today's prize get claimed? Tina, that is a good question. Austin, can you answer that in the Facebook group? Did today's prize get claimed or not? Please answer that in the Facebook group. Forgive me, Tina. I've been a little bit busy, so I haven't been able to tell. But good question. Jackie says, phew, don't have a book yet. Okay, no worries, Jackie. It's totally cool. Put it just when you want to launch it, right? We need a date. Let's, you drove a motorcycle across the world, for crying out loud. By the way, I'm going to look at bikes tomorrow with my buddy. So I have a Harley now, but I have a Sportster, and I want a Softail. So I bought a Sportster because my son was learning on it, and I didn't want something too heavy for him. So, but now I've had Harleys all my life. So, and my buddy wants to get a Fat Boy. And so we're going to go look at bikes tomorrow. So I don't know that anybody cares about that, but me and Jackie. What else do we have? TK, do we post our list of assets on the homework unit? Yes, TK. On the homework unit, please put it there. Again, for the VIPs, all of you need to do part 1 and part 2. That's map out the launch, give me the timelines, and give me your list of assets. And I need the VIPs to email me that, okay? So please email me that as well. Let's see, what else do we have here? Jackie says, way to go, Harley Street Glide Special. Like that. That's good. I'm going to look at all of them. I want to sit on them. And, I love motorcycles. I'm embarrassed to tell you how many miles I have on my Sportster, though I won't do it because I'll be Harley shamed. I'll be kicked out of the Harley Club. Jim says, is it possible to work with you to launch the next book and relaunch a previous book? 100%, Jim. Absolutely. In fact, I suggest to my clients, if they have a previous book, it's a great idea to go back to back, because you can like launch the previous book, create a lot of momentum, and then launch the next book. And so back to back, you have all this great momentum to your offer, which I think is really cool. Deborah says, how can you help someone who has already completed their book? Where do I begin again? If you've already completed your book, Deborah, I guess I don't need to help you with the completion of your book, but if you're asking how I can help, well, we can do a full launch of your book and guarantee that you hit bestseller, like all the stuff I explained today. We can also book you on TV. Do you want to be on TV for your subject matter? We have a full PR department that books our clients for podcast, radio, TV, you name it. So we help our clients in a lot of different ways. We even build funnels for clients, etc. So there's a lot of cool things. Jim says, awesome. Can't wait to chat further. Great. You're going to love tomorrow's offer, Jim. So be aware of that. Jackie says 28,611 kilometers, London to Magadan. 104 days, you should do that trip. Good Lord. I told you, I don't like being away from my dogs for a day. I can't do that. Man, I take my wife, but what would we do with the dogs? Anita says, how soon will the replay be up on your Facebook group page? I missed some of the beginning. You know what? Immediately, Anita, because literally it is streaming live to Facebook right now. So as soon as I end it, it's there on Facebook. So just go to Facebook and you will see it right there right now. Let's see. Rob says, how do I contact Austin? Okay, so Rob did claim the prize. Rob Ashford is on, and he did claim the prize. Congratulations, Rob. I see that. Leslie says, what time tomorrow? 3 o'clock Eastern is the training tomorrow. We're going to go again 3 to 4:30 or so tomorrow. Ann says, try a real bike. What does that mean? Oh, my son pedaled 10,000 miles in 4 years. Well, I have a Peloton. Does that count? Try a real bike. What in the world? You don't insult Harley people, Ann. Come on. I'm just teasing. That's great for your son. Congratulations. Let's see. Jackie says, way to go. Love that. Don says, thanks for today. You are super welcome. Dr. Allen, great food for action, Rob. Good. Okay, you guys are great. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. I think we are done for today, so I will jump off. Let me stop the share. And any questions, please post them in the group. VIPs, get me the homework assignment via email. Everybody else, get your homework in. You'll have a chance to win the 4 sessions with a ghostwriter. And of course, the thing that I'll be sharing about tomorrow, the special offer I will be sharing about during the training. You guys are great. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.